Welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about constructor chaining. Check it out. For this video, what I've done is created a class called Sprocket. Now, we're not going to do a main and instantiate this because in this discussion, I want to talk about constructor chaining. So we're only going to learn how to auto-generate our constructors and then reshape them very quickly so that they are performing constructor chaining, and we'll talk about it as we go. So this should be a pretty simple video, and I want to just kind of jump right into it. So one of the cool things about Eclipse as an IDE is we can auto-generate certain things. And for my students, at a certain point, I begin to allow them to auto-generate their constructors as long as they make sure that whatever is auto-generated meets my specifications. So let's take a look at it under source. We're going to generate constructors using fields. And I'm going to select all of them because I want a full constructor. Okay, so there it is. It's got my call to super. It's passing in all of the appropriate fields. I'm pretty much done with that. Now, if I want to generate a partial constructor, I can literally do the same thing and uncheck the ones that I'm going to assume they don't have. I'm going to assume that they have how many they have on hand and the name. They might not know the cost and the price yet. So we're going to do that. And that's going to generate, and sometimes you get some interesting spacing. But basically, I've got this inventory count and sprocket name. And I know I need to initialize the other two fields, but just bear with me a minute while I do the default and you'll see what I'm going to do. So source, generate constructor using fields, and I'm going to uncheck all of them saying I want a default constructor with nothing, and there it is. Okay? Now, constructor chaining is nothing more than putting all of the work on the full constructor. So what that means is the full constructor does everything, okay? It passes all these values into the fields and it calls super. So if I'm going to chain in my other ones, I don't even need the call to super, okay? I just don't need them. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this and I'm going to pass in a combination of the values I know that I get from here and the default values in the order that the full constructor needs it. So the first thing is inventory count. So I have that. So I'm going to pass inventory count. And then I need sprocket cost, which isn't given to me here. So I know that's a 0. Price is a 0. And then sprocket name is given to me. So I'm just going to copy that into there. Put a semicolon on. And I don't need either of these. Okay? So what I've done is effectively, when I call this, it means call a constructor. Call the constructor that has these 4 data types. Int, double, double, string. Well, look at that. So what I'm doing is if I call it with just the inventory count and the sprocket name, it knows to add the default values that I want and call the full. So as you can imagine, this one becomes this 0, 0, 0, no name assigned. And all I'm doing is feeding my default values to the full constructor. Now this is particularly useful if I'm doing a lot of code maintenance, right? If I need to change something in here or have additional steps taken when this object is created, then I can do it all here and I don't have to worry about it here. So this is tighter, easier to maintain, easier to have multiple constructors. It just works really well. And for some odd reason, maybe if I have two of them, these defaults are different. Okay, so if I have none, the defaults are all zeros, and maybe it's $1 and $5 if I happen to know these two. I can set that up however I want as the creator of this class. Okay, so that's called constructor chaining, because I go from whichever incomplete constructor I am called with to the full constructor, giving it the values that I happen to have, whether it's nothing or some of them. I just pass what I have and safe values into the full constructor, and I have achieved constructor chaining. So now you've seen constructor chaining. Over the next few videos, we're going to use it. I'm going to intentionally have some of my classes that don't have it, and just as a review, we'll go back and turn it into constructor chaining. So I'm going to kind of weave that into some of the videos, but it's something that we really should use. All right. In the next video, however, we're going to jump into abstract classes. And abstract classes is where the power of inheritance and polymorphism becomes very apparent. So this is kind of a deep set of, I think we're going to do 3 videos on this to kind of break it up. But abstract classes is something that you really want to pay attention to, especially if you're in a course that is AP. So if you're in the AP CSA course, you really want to understand abstract classes. So I'll see you on the other side.